How's it going, everybody? It's Pod Fam. We're back with another FPL live stream, and today it is recorded this last night, so this being the 7th of April. So if you're watching this over on YouTube, this is a VOD from last night that we did over on Twitch, but I'm probably in the live chat ready to answer your questions, so have no fear. We're going to be going over some stuff that you can probably pay attention to and get some use out of, but also if you need any direct questions, I will most likely be in the chat on YouTube as this is playing right now. But we're going to take a look at all the things that we couldn't do yesterday, couldn't do the preview stream, but we're going to be doing it all in one big spell swoop. And we're going to go over some stats tables from Fantasy Football Scout, as we normally do. Some transfer stuff. We'll dip a little bit into the double game weeks based on how I'm going to do my transfers, potentially. And we'll do our predictions and differential picks, as we normally do. But before we start that, let's talk about Fantasy Football Scout very briefly. Fantasy Football Scout are our partners for the season. They've been fantastic, and we're going to provide you with some of the tables in the members area that are going to help you out, basically to see what types of attacking stats we have for teams, defensive stats, captaincy, and the goals imminent table. We're going to take a look at all of that sort of stuff and see what that has to offer. But you can make your own tables, as I have done. All mine are public, but you can make your own tables, public or private, and use them to your advantage. They're going to help elevate your FPL game as well as much more in the Fantasy Football Scout members area. But without further ado, let's see how we did in Game Week 31, which was a double game week. Went to the wrong screen there. But yeah, this is the team. This is how we did. So, all things considered, I'm actually okay with a small red arrow. Funnily, how that sounds. So we started off pretty well. We had the Rudiger goal, even though he conceded for. Robertson clean sheet, Cancelo clean sheet. Rafinha got a return, Kulusevski got a return, Fernandes got a return, Watkins goal 3 bonus, was very ecstatic about that. And then I was very fearful of the Spurs Newcastle game. Doherty got massive returns. Kane got himself an assist, although he did get booked. Son got massive returns as well, so that hurt my rank quite a lot. Luckily, Saka didn't do anything, who was the other player that was very highly owned that I did not have. So all things considered, I'm actually okay. Had Weghorst gotten an actual return, I probably would have been on a gray or very, very tiny green. So only 100 places or so dropped down. Not the end of the world. I think we're still looking fine as we go into this week, and we might be doing some drastic changes, and we'll talk about that in just a bit. But all things considered, Chelsea, yeah, had Rudiger not scored the absolute screamer from, the next county over, it was a long ways away that he scored from. But yeah, currently sitting on 1,852nd in the world. We have 1 free transfer this week, might make more than 2 potentially. We shall see, and might do some interesting swapping around. Title of the show is Salah out. Does the data show that we should be getting rid of Salah? Can we get rid of him? Now, I'm in a fortunate position where I have the wild card, so I can bring him back in if I made a little bit of a oopsie and he does well versus City and United, and I were to get rid of him this week. So we'll take a look at that, and we'll see what options I have thought about. Again, the deadline will be less than an hour from now from this recording. But if you're watching live, the deadline is on Friday, the 8th of April. It's a Friday deadline this week, 1.5 hours before the Newcastle and Wolves kickoff. Not the most exciting, but very, very big game in terms of the title race this weekend as well, with Liverpool playing City on the last game of the week, which is going to be very, very scary if I don't have Salah on my team. But let's take a look at how the games went and how our predictions went as well. So I'm going to bring up my tweet that I always put out. There it is. And we're going to move over to the scores of the week. So if you don't know how this works, we're going to run through these briefly because these are more or less a thing of the past. We want to get onto the Game Week 32 stuff, because I know there's going to be more pertinent to potentially some of the stuff that you guys may be discussing, maybe in the chat or just in general for this game week. Prediction-wise, if you get the exact score right, you get 3 points. If you just get the result right, you get 1 point. And if you don't get anything other than that, you get 0 points. So probably the Chelsea score I'm going to get wrong. So for whatever reason, I didn't do Game Week 29. I don't know why. Maybe I just didn't do streams for those ones. I'm not too sure why. But let's see how we did. We got 4 last time, so surely we can do better than that. Liverpool versus Watford, I predicted 3-0. We ended up getting just the 1 point for that. Ended up being the 2-0. Liverpool quite comfortable in that one. And Watford did have like a couple chances here and there, but all things considered, Liverpool, you always were expecting them to win that one. Brighton versus Norwich. Norwich getting a point. They really need wins at the moment, but I think they're pretty much relegated. But Brighton, again, a bit disappointing. We got that one wrong as well. Man City versus Burnley, 2-0, comfortable. Nothing too stressful for Man City. We predicted a 3-0, so we get just the 1 point there. Chelsea should have been the same, should have been comfortable, but after Antonio Rudiger's goal, it was like a 15-20 minute spell of just complete Brentford onslaught, and 4 goals went past Edouard Mendy. And Chelsea are in a bit of a rot at the moment, losing to Brentford, losing at home as well to Real Madrid through partially their own fault. So yeah, not great for Chelsea at the moment. Leeds Southampton, a 1-1 draw. Can't remember too much what happened in this game. Oh right, Rafinha assist. I didn't think it was a Rafinha assist. It didn't look like he was crossing it to Harrison. I guess it was in the general vicinity, but I'll consider myself fortunate for that one, as well as other Rafinha owners. But we predicted a 2-1 Southampton. Southampton probably be disappointed that with Leeds' form this season and the injuries that they had, that they didn't pick up all 3 points. Wolves, Aston Villa, we actually had it the other way around. Aston Villa were down 2-0 in quick succession in that one, only to get a very dubious penalty, which I'll definitely take myself for Watkins scoring, which he almost missed because he hit it as far off the inside of the post as you can without missing. So we got that one wrong as well. United Leicester should have probably ended 2-1. United should have beat Leicester by that scoreline or more. But again, another disappointing result for Man United. Should have been 2-1 Leicester, actually, based on the way the game played. So yeah, not ideal there. So we got that one wrong as well. West Ham over Everton, 2-1. Everton again dropping more points, and we got that result correct. So we're not doing too great on the results here. Spurs, this is what I did not want this week, was a 5 goal absolute smacking. Kane only getting the 1 assist, which was grateful, but Doherty getting a goal and assist and some bonus points. Not the greatest for my rank, considering he was like 60% owned in the top 10k. Son was still a decent chunk. He hurt my rank as well. Kane, even just with his assist, hurt my rank a good bit as well. So, again, not great. But we still got the result correct, so we get the 1 point there. Crystal Palace versus Arsenal. Didn't expect this one. I thought Arsenal would, it'd be a tough game for them, but I didn't expect them to get just basically swept away. 3-0 Palace, too easy for them with no problems whatsoever. And then Burnley Everton, I predicted a 1-1. Looked like it was going to go that way. Then Everton went up 2-1. Then Burnley came back and won 3-2. So we got that one wrong as well. Chelsea did not keep a clean sheet. Fabianski did not keep a clean sheet either. Gomez played and kept a clean sheet, so that was a good differential pick there. Riyad Mahrez, I don't believe, was involved in any of the goals. No, it was Sterling, De Bruyne, and Gundogan. So I can't remember if Mahrez started. And Weghorst, again, disappointed. So 1 out of 5 on the differentials, and only 4 points again, even though we had some doubles to choose from. Just the one double. But again, not the greatest. So we will try to improve on that. But basically, the shocks of the week was Brentford basically beating Chelsea. The goal fest that was Burnley versus Everton. I know a couple of people on Twitter I saw have Richarlison. Some even captained him as well, which would have been is great, and could be one of our players that we want for 36, because Everton have a back-to-back double. In 36 and 37, that's scheduled, nailed on. So maybe Richarlison's just one of those forwards, because we're looking for forwards right now, because all of them are pretty bad. So we might need him going forward. So now let's take a look at our notepad here. So these are all the games for game week 32. And for once, I can say it's a single game week, which is not something we have had for... Did we have a double in 25? I can't remember. But it was like double in 26. There was like blanks 27, double 28, double 29, blank 30. There's been like a blank or a double every week for the last like 7 game weeks, it feels like. Maybe more. I can't even remember. There's been so many. But we have a normal game week. Not as normal because of the fact that Newcastle and Wolves play on the Friday, which normally the games would start on the Saturday. But we do have a normal single game week. So let's take a look at how we're going to predict this game for this one. Just going to open up a new window here. So if you are not aware, we do put our picks over on Fantasy Football Community site. I'm not sure if they posted it as of yet. So usually they'll do a post. They might put it on Twitter. I think the Twitter post might be going up tomorrow. But we can take a look at my predictions because I sent them already, and I have a copy of them off to the side, which I'm going to take a screenshot of in a second so that I can remember what they were. So let me... Actually, I'll just leave this up. Just so I can see what I'm doing here. Make that smaller. There we go. Okay, just so I can see the chat as well. I have to kind of change it a little bit. Right, so Newcastle versus Wolves. I think Newcastle are on a bit of a slide, and I can see Wolves potentially just nicking this one. I went with a 2-1 in favor of Wolves. I think Newcastle just kind of dipped off a little bit. I think they had, the bit of the high of all the players coming in, and now they've kind of been smacked back down to reality a little bit. I think they're pretty much safe still, and Wolves are still vying for spots, so they're going to be competitive. Newcastle at St. James's Park is very tough to go. I just think Wolves are going to edge it. I went with a 2-1 in favor of Wolves. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 2-1 the other way as well. I think 2-1 is going to be the scoreline. I think it's going to be quite close, and I think it's going to be pretty competitive. United versus Everton on the lunchtime kickoff in the UK on Saturday. This is a game United have to win. This is a game Everton have to win. United's attack, I believe, across the whole season is like 5th or 6th in terms of like expected goals non-penalty. So, or like XG per 90 or whatever the metric is basically. But United's attack has been good. United has been creating chances. They just don't create super clear-cut chances. They create a lot of half chances, which kind of build up the XG and that sort of stuff. And then they don't put them away because it was a period of time where United just weren't scoring goals. But Everton have shown that their defense is awful. They can't beat Burnley. Burnley can put 3 past them. United is capable if they turn up to put past 5. Especially if Everton concede one early. Goodison's not going to be happy with them, basically. So I went with a pretty straightforward 3-0. No questions asked about United. The last time, the last time United I can remember playing like extremely well, like very, very good style of football, was in the Carabao Cup. I want to say it was last year. Might have been last year or the year before. But basically we played Bailly and... We either played Bailly, Maguire, Bailly and Lindelof, but we played like Matic, we played Pogba, we played super attacking, we pressed them really high up the pitch. And this was still on the Solskjaer, which is weird because after that it just kind of went downhill, which is really weird. Van de Beek played in that game. I think we played at Diamond, and we just absolutely, like, they couldn't do anything for the entire first half, which was really, really good. So hopefully we do that again. That'd be great. Because United need 3 points desperately, as do Everton. But I think United needed to get top 4, or they want to at least get Europa League, because with the new manager coming in, which looks to be Erik ten Hag, and most certainly he's going to want to use the Europa League to kind of play youngsters or experiment and that sort of stuff. So that's what he's going to want to do. So maybe the likes of Garnacho, McNeil, Garner, those sorts of guys will get game time in the Europa League. So hopefully that is the case, because that'll be nice to see. Arsenal versus Brighton. This is the type of game where Brighton's going to show up and randomly play well. I'm convinced of it. And I think Arsenal, having lost to Palace, the expectation on them is to win this game. They could start to slide. I saw some things in Arsenal where no Tierney, Partey looked like he went off injured. Gabriel looked a bit very, very, very naive in his defending. He is a young defender still, but just looked very naive. Saka couldn't really do much. Martinelli's only, I believe, coming back from illness as well. He can make things happen. Lacazette looked a bit labored from it just like it just seems like he's being more and more ineffective, as it were, in these games. But I think Brighton can beat any team in the Premier League easily. They can, because they play good enough football to do so. It's just can they put the ball in the back of the net? And I can see them doing that because I just don't think Arsenal's defense with Tavares and Cedric as the fullbacks is that solid, basically. And if Partey's out, that's a huge miss for them too. You can't really take Xhaka out the midfield, so then you got Xhaka and Lokonga, which isn't the greatest, and then you're really, really exposed at the back. So I can see this being a draw for Arsenal. This could be a banana peel for them. I can see them easily winning the game, probably a 2-0 if Brighton keep playing the way that they do. But for some reason, I just have a hunch that if this could be maybe the kind of slip-up that Arsenal didn't want to continue, basically, and Brighton will probably, their history with Mopé, like, doing like the all kinds of jeering and whatnot when Guendouzi was like getting upset when they were playing at the Amex. So that's going to be interesting to see that sort of dynamic if something like that were to curtail and find itself in the game, basically. So Southampton versus Chelsea. So Chelsea should win this game. I think they will win this game, but I don't think they're going to keep clean sheet. I think Southampton will score, which is unfortunate for me because I'm probably going to be playing 2 Chelsea defenders. But I think Chelsea will bounce back. I think they'll win this game. I think they need to win the game just to boost their confidence a little bit, get a little bit of momentum going into the Real Madrid tie at the Bernabeu, which is going to be very difficult. They need to have some form of confidence going into that game. Because if they lose this one, they can get embarrassed at the Bernabeu, and then they could potentially fall out of top 4 if things go really catastrophic. Lose to Arsenal, lose to United, then things all start to unravel. So they definitely don't want that, as well as the ownership thing hanging over their heads as well. Watford versus Leeds. Leeds are somewhat in a relegation fight. I think they're probably okay, but you never know. But I have gone with a 2-1 in favor of Leeds. I just think their defense is leaky enough to where they'll concede. Maybe something in transition with like Sarr or something like that. We also saw the likes of King and Dennis were rested, quote unquote, versus Man City. They kind of played this, like, Cucho's been the one that's been in form. So maybe Roy Hodgson goes back to Dennis and King. We will see, because this will be one of the games where he'll think we can get some points. This is where we need our best team for it as well. So I've gone with the 2-1. And same for Villa and Spurs. I think this game will be a bit closer. I still think Spurs are good enough to win the game. I have them odds on, as it stands now, for that 4th place spot. I think with Arsenal's current fixtures, where they have to play Spurs, who I would favor in that game. They have to play Chelsea, who I would favor in that game. And then United, anything could happen in that. I just think Spurs might just nick it. I think they might do, and Conte might get Champions League football, which could determine whether he stays at Spurs going into next season as well. But I've gone with a 2-1 in that one. West Ham versus Brentford. They were quite resilient in Europa League tonight with the 1-1 draw, having Cresswell having been sent off just before halftime. Not something that you want. Yeah, really needless kind of like tug back on the player on a break where he was barreling into the box. I think it was Dembele for Lyon. I think they bounce back in this one. I think they keep clean sheet too. I think West Ham are going to be solid, and they're going to get the 2-0 to keep their spirits up going into the second leg in France. So that's going to be an interesting one to pay attention to, and that has some ramifications based on what could happen for potential doubles in the future, as well as blanks for West Ham specifically. Leicester versus Palace. Now, this one I was very, very kind of back and forward on, to be honest. So I kind of sat on the fence, and I just went with the Desmond, which is a 2-2. I think both teams are good enough to score. I think both teams' attacks are quite good, but I just think Leicester at the back are a little bit leaky, but I think Leicester's attack is very good, and I think that they could potentially get something, because Maddison can always whip one in from a free kick. Barnes can always create something out of nothing. Iheanacho is very good and poses a threat, assuming that he plays. And yeah, I think they could potentially get something from this. I'm not actually sure what they got as a result tonight. in the Conference League. Let's see, Leicester City. A 0-0. Lovely. So did anyone come off injured? I'm just going to check here. Daka came on for all Brighton. Iheanacho got taken off for Lookman 60 minutes in. Doesn't bode well for Iheanacho. That's a bit interesting. So I guess Rodgers wanted to just sit back and see if they can hit them on the break, which is weird. But that's what he went with. But regardless, I think it's going to be 2-2. I think it's going to be an interesting game. Norwich versus Burnley. I think it's going to be typical Burnley fashion. 1-0. They're going to get the 3 points, and Sean Dyche is going to continue to march up the table, getting points after points, and I think he's probably going to end up getting 17th. I think they're not going to get relegated. I just think Everton, their fixtures, where are they going to get the points from? United, probably expected to lose. Then they play Leicester. Bit of a difficult game. Then they play Liverpool. You ain't winning that. Then they play Chelsea. Probably not going to win that either. 36th, they play Leicester again. Again, away from home, so a bit tricky. Watford, that's where they could get some points. And then you got Brentford, which is not an easy game at the moment. And then the last day of the season, they got Arsenal. So, not really sure how it's going to go for them. Not really sure at all. I think it could be quite difficult. I think it could be very difficult for them. But I think Burnley are gonna nick 17th. I think they're just gonna come out of it. And then last but not least, the game that everyone's been waiting for, the Super Sunday, the 4:30 kickoff in the UK. Who's gonna win the title? Because I think whoever wins this game will have a very, very, very large advantage in the title race. I think for City, it'll put them 4 points ahead. For Liverpool, it'll put them 2 points ahead. So City being 4 points ahead will be a game and a draw. Points-wise ahead. Liverpool does have the goal difference advantage at the moment. So Liverpool being level on points would still mean at the moment that they would win the title. But Man City, I think, are just going to edge it. I think Liverpool, in the beginning of games recently, have looked a bit lacking in a concentration, as it were. And I think that could be their undoing. Man City know how to control games to such a high level at the moment. And I think that it's going to be extremely interesting on what Pep Guardiola does. We know what we're going to get out of Liverpool for the most part. The front three might be slightly different, but I think he might go with tried and tested with Firmino, Salah, and Mane. Maybe he goes with Diaz just as a direct runner in behind. Or Jota through the middle as a goal scorer. But I think Mane and Salah definitely start. It's just a matter of that third spot. City, it's going to be interesting with their composition. Do they stick with Ilkay Gundogan? Do they put Bernardo Silva in the front three? How is Pep going to manage that one? But I think City at home, they're definitely going to go at Liverpool. And we're going to see how it plays out. I'm going to go with City winning 2-1. Moving on to the clean sheet and differential picks of clean sheet this week, I'm going to go with Burnley. I think if you do have a Burnley defender or a goalkeeper, I think that you should be getting the clean sheet from Norwich. Norwich aren't great. And we can see that with one of our tables here, which is the teams to watch. So if we look at XG non-penalty, Norwich aren't great. They're in the bottom 3 over the last 4 matches. Just not great at all. Only 3 goals scored. Just not good at all attacking wise. In terms of defense, Norwich's defense is awful as well, as is Burnley's. And Burnley haven't kept many clean sheets, but Burnley do concede not as many attempts in the box, which is good for them. And I think that they should be fine, and I think they will keep a clean sheet, because this is the type of game where Sean Dyche will know how to manage it, and they'll basically be able to pick up the 3 points. That's just my opinion. That's how it's going to be, I think. In terms of differential picks, so let's move to the transfer screen here. How well owned is Nick Pope? I'm not even sure how well owned he is. 4.1%. Well, let's go for him. Nick Pope is a differential goalkeeper, so let's go for him. 4.1% owned. Why not? And also, I'm pretty sure he's not well owned either. And that's Collins. He's been playing. He played the last game. He scored. He's probably going to play again, if I had to guess. 0.1% owned, scored off a set piece, although it was with his foot. If you got him and you keep a clean sheet, you could be in good stead. If you want to be safer and you have a little bit extra money, probably Tarkowski. But again, with Tarkowski, he has, I think, 8 yellow cards at the moment. Tarkowski. Yep, he does. And he has 2 games to play. So if he gets booked in this game, he can then get booked potentially in the West Ham game, and then we'll miss the double in 33. So you don't want that. Whereas Collins hasn't been playing. So if he plays well again, then he could be your double gaming player. Although he is a risk, I would probably suggest going with somebody like Tarkowski and just hope he doesn't get booked. If he doesn't get booked in the first game, then you're fine. You don't have to worry about him getting booked in the second game. Because if he does, then he's only on 9. But basically, you have to play 32 fixtures and not get 10 yellow cards if you do get suspended for 2 games, which is quite punishing, actually. In midfield, let's take a look at the fixtures. Who are we going to go with in midfield? I'm actually going to go for a United player that's not Fernandez. He would be good. I'm going to go with somebody who I think has been playing quite well and could potentially produce in this one. I'm going to go with Anthony Elanga. I think he definitely deserves to start over Rashford, in my opinion. And he's 0.5% owned and a very cheap midfielder. If you're dead-ending your team, he's going to have a double versus Norwich as well. I think that Elanga will probably play versus Norwich, and then Rashford will play versus Liverpool. That's kind of going to be how it works, I think. So I would go with Elanga in this one, personally. If you're going for a super cheap differential, so this could be your like your Gordon slot in your team, your old school Brownhill, as it were. And then in the forward line, I mean, goodness me, just a whole bunch of not very good players at the moment. Not very good players at the moment. But if I had to choose one, it's going to be a Burnley player, I think. And I know I got a lot of players coming from Burnley, and it's going to be Jay Rodriguez. He scored. He just looks more involved in the play when it comes to the final third, which is definitely not great for Weghorst, but he just seems more involved. And we still don't know who's on penalties either, from what I know from Burnley, but he's just been more involved. I mean, he got a goal recently. That'll boost his confidence. Yes, Burnley don't score very many, but it seems like he just gets himself onto stuff when Burnley do score. So I think he could be a differential pick, so I'm going to go with Jay Rodriguez. Not the most exciting picks, I will admit. Yeah, so I'm just going to post these over on Twitter. Game week 32 picks and predictions and can't spell differentials. And we'll post the picture. There we go. We'll close out of that. And let's move on to how the team's looking at the moment. So we can close off that as well. So we got about 25 or so minutes because I have to do it slightly. It's going to be around the hour mark where we finish up. No, 25 minutes. I'm trying to look at the clock here. Can't remember what time. We started around like 20. No, it's probably closer to 30 minutes. Closer to 30 minutes. I just can't do math. So yeah, this is what the team looks like as it stands now. So we got Edouard Mendy in goal with Rudiger. In defense, Ben White, Andy Robertson, and Cancelo. Watkins, Rafinha, Kulusevski, Salah, Fernandez with the armband at the moment, Dennis and Weghorst with Ramsdale, Smith Rowe, Watkins, and Aït-Nouri on the bench. Now, in terms of goalkeeper, I'm going to look at teams to watch here. The captaincy against Chelsea's defense. Is it better than Arsenal's at the moment? No, it's not, but only slightly. Chelsea have only conceded 2 goals, as well as Arsenal have only conceded 2 goals, or clean sheet, sorry. 5 goals conceded. Goal attempts in the box, Chelsea with the 25, Arsenal with the 19. So it is very, very close. Chelsea have also conceded 1 more big chance. So it's very, very close. So I'm I don't know who to play, to be honest. I just think Chelsea and Arsenal are both probably not going to keep clean sheets, in my opinion. Whose attack is worse? Probably Brighton's. But I think I'm just going to go with Mendy, just being the more expensive goalkeeper. If you had to choose between like Ramsdale, I think Ramsdale's probably just like, if you have just Ramsdale and like Foster or something like that. I would play Ramsdale over Foster, because I think Foster concede to Leeds. So that's what I would choose, because I know a lot of managers have that as well. So, and then on the bench, Smith Rowe, Watkins, Eitner. I just don't think any of them are going to be as useful or exciting. And I think that Fernandes captain looks good at the moment. So let's move. I'm going to take a look at the captaincy really quickly here and get that out of the way with. So we're going to sort this by team. Now, the captaincy that's going to be involved this week. So Saka was potentially an option. Differential would be probably Martinelli. So we'll go with him. I'm going to scroll down. Chelsea, probably no captains there, in my opinion. Rafinha would be a captaincy shout. Where is he? Rafinha. There he is. Liverpool, the obvious ones. So we have Salah, and I'll probably put Trent in there as well. City, I mean, you can go super differential here. If you have De Bruyne, João Cancelo, and then I'll probably put Foden, because I think Foden probably starts in there as well. Ronaldo, if he plays, because it looked like he was training on his own apparently today. And Bruno Fernandes. Newcastle, Norwich, Southampton, not really anything there. There's going to be a lot of Spurs captainers, so if you're a Son or a Kane owner, I'll put Doherty in there just to throw him in there. Watford, West Ham, Wolves, don't think there's anything there. So only show selected players, and now we're going to sort it by expected goal involvement. So this is over the last 4 matches, the expected goal involvement of all these players, and Kane is top with 3.84, and we can see that Salah has dipped down a little bit. I mean, Ronaldo in his last 4 matches has done really well when he's played, basically. Has had the most shots inside the box among all players. But with Salah, the expected goals non-penalty has dipped off quite a bit. And if you go over on Luke Disables, FF Scout Luke's Twitter, he had done basically like a write-up, as it were, over there, and showed that Salah's, in terms of expected goals, non-penalty has been quite low, actually. Let me see if I can actually find it after a sip of water. And I'll see if I can bring it up on the other side here. So FF Scout Luke. Let's see. Where is Salah? Here we go. So it says, Mo Salah game week 1 to 18. 18 starts, non-penalty goals plus assists is 22 of them. 0.73 non-penalty XGI. And then from game week 19 to 31, he's only had 9 starts due to AFCON. Non-penalty goals and assists, just 3. So not great. And his non-penalty XGI is 0.97. So his non-penalty XGI is actually up more, but his output has gone down. So I had that a little bit of ways around. But so Salah's stats for non-penalty XGI has gone up, but his output's gone down. So maybe it's a reverting back to the mean, as it were. Maybe it's just lack of form. Maybe he has been affected by the fact that losing 2 penalty shootouts isn't great. One of them was AFCON final. One of them was to get to the World Cup. So, and especially he missed his penalty in the one for the to qualify for the World Cup. Good evening, Mono. How's it going? Or good afternoon, good morning. So yeah, Salah's stats still show that we should probably keep him. But if you have the likes of Harry, or don't have the likes of Harry Kane, you want to go for Bruno Fernandes for a couple of weeks. So if we look at Bruno Fernandes, last 4 matches, Bruno has 1 goal, 1 assist, 3 big chances created, so more than Salah. More chances created, more big chances created, slightly less shots inside the box, with 8 versus Salah's 13. Expected goal involvement's been close. Expected goals has been close, but his expected assists have been higher. And Salah keeping 2 more clean sheets. So if you were to ditch Salah for a couple of weeks to get that extra fixture, so Salah and Bruno would play each other. In my opinion, you basically expect nothing in that game, even though Salah did get 3 goals and assists last time they played United, and United are genuinely awful, speaking from someone who watches them quite closely, being a fan of the club. But Bruno has Everton, who are terrible, and Norwich, who are literally bottom. So you get those 2 extra fixtures. Salah, one of those fixtures that he plays out of his 2 is versus City. So you can't expect much in both of his. So I think if you're swapping Salah to Bruno, I think it is a good idea as well. But for me personally, I already have Bruno. I could be swapping Salah to the likes of Son and Kane, who would be playing Aston Villa in 32, and they'd be playing Brighton in 33. I would also probably keep them for 34 as well, because they play Brentford, I believe, in that one. In 35 is when they play Leicester, and then they have their double and that sort of stuff, which their double isn't great, but it's the easier fixtures that I'm looking to potentially target. So in terms of captaincy, I think Kane is the clear winner this week if you have him. I think if you have Fernandes, it's a very good differential captaincy shot, which is why I have the armband on him right now. And I think for the big game player aspect, I think a Foden, a De Bruyne, or Salah are also still viable options as well. I think if you want to go mega differential, you go Rafinha. I wouldn't go Saka, to be honest. I don't think Arsenal score a boatload of goals where you're going to get this massive return. I could be wrong, though. But I think that's what that would be my order. So it'd basically be Kane if you have him, Son if you have him, and then Salah, Bruno Fernandes in that bracket. Bruno would be more of a differential. Salah would just be the kind of, who do I put it on? But most managers are going to have Son or Kane, and I think one of those is going to be fine, to be honest. So yeah, that's that captaincy table done. In terms of the goals imminent table, so this is a table that I've sorted by XG non-penalty. So this is the amount of goals that they should have scored, non-penalty goals, over the last 4 game weeks. And these are players that have missed their chances and should potentially have more goals coming their way. And Phil Foden is at the top of that, Sadio Mane, Bruno Fernandes, even Salah's on that list as well. Diaz, who could potentially start up front. Neil Maupay, missing a penalty doesn't help either. And then you got Coutinho, Watkins even on there, having scored. Lacazette still on there. Saka's down the bottom of it as well. So we could see some very interesting score lines for Liverpool. And Man City. Foden again is a big game sort of player. He scored versus Liverpool in a couple of games that they've played against them. So that could be a very interesting one as well. Let's also take a look at the defenses. So Norwich, terrible defense at the moment. Burnley's is bad, and Leicester's is bad. So the teams that are playing against them. So who plays Leicester this week? Jamie Vardy. Crystal Palace. So Crystal Palace could be doing quite well. If you're bringing in Crystal Palace players early for potential double in 35 or 37, whenever it's going to be, that could be something to go for. Burnley. Again, Burnley play Norwich. Norwich play Burnley. So they're playing each other. But again, it's hard to argue. It's hard to make a case to captain Salah because of the fact that Man City's defense is so good, and even Villa's defense is really good as well. That's why Fernandes is probably a bit more appealing, just because of the fact that Everton's defense isn't great. And if we look at the attacks of the teams, Man United's is 5th, and Everton's is second from the bottom, which isn't ideal. Whereas Liverpool, Spurs, and Man City, they're all at the top. Chelsea's up there, Leeds is up there, but Man United's attack has still been quite good. They just need to score more goals, basically, because they should be scoring more goals. So, yeah. I think Fernandes could be a very good differential captaincy shout. I think Kane is probably the best and probably most captain player this week as well. So that's what I would be thinking. But let's move over to the transfer planner. So this is what the team looks like. This is what the team looks like in FPL. We got the point 0.1 in the bank, and we see that replicated here on FPL.team. So we're going to spend around 10-15 minutes or so messing around with some transfer plans. Now, one thing that we can do, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to replicate what my team looks like at the moment. So we have Smith Rowe in front of Watkins. We have the armband on Fernandes and Salah with the vice captaincy. So what can we do this week? Well, we could do nothing if we wanted to. Something we could do. But we would have no Kane, no Doherty, no Son, who I still think Aston Villa find themselves where they leave space in behind because they're not the most solid team defensively and haven't been under Steven Gerrard and can easily crumble a bit. We saw that in the first 30 minutes of Wolves versus Villa last week. Now, different story potentially away from home versus at home. If we look at that's Rafinha. Kulusevski doesn't have it. Where is Kane? When they played Aston Villa, they won 2-1. So it was quite close, but that was also under Dean Smith, who was a bit more pragmatic. So I think Villa are going to be a bit more open. They're going to want to attack the game. I think they're going to be a bit more on the front foot. So that would be something to potentially keep an eye on when watching the game. So we could technically do nothing. So let's go down that route. Let's say we do nothing. We'll probably captain Fernandes because he's got the better fixture than Salah. Fine. Then we move into game week 33, which is a double, where we would have 2 free transfers. We just have to hope that Kane and Son didn't burn us, which is very likely because they did last week. Ramsdale would come in. Smith Rowe temporarily would come in. And we'd have Salah and Robertson versus Man United, which is not ideal, but we could probably still keep them. We would have 2 free transfers, so we could do something a bit more on the exciting part. So if we look down at the fixtures, teams that have doubles, so we got Arsenal, but we currently have 2 Arsenal players. Leicester have Everton and Newcastle, could be something to potentially attack. Newcastle, Leicester, and Crystal Palace. Man City have a good fixture at home to Brighton. Burnley have West Ham and Southampton, so maybe we could do something there. So what can we do? Well, not a whole lot unless we alleviate some money. So one thing we could potentially do, if we think that the clean sheet's kind of guaranteed versus Brighton, and City know that Brighton's going to be tough, but they're going to want to win the game, maybe we go for something like Robertson out for like a Laporte. Frees up that little bit of extra cash, and then we go for Rafinha out to like a James Maddison. We then put Maddison in instead of Dennis, and then if we are unsure, if we're unsure that the likes of Smith Rowe are going to potentially start one of the games, because if Smith Rowe starts one and is benched for one, I think that's perfectly fine because he's going to get minutes in both. But if we're still unsure, we can get rid of Smith Rowe. We just barely can't go to Saka. We could still do Barnes as it stands as well. But we'll just put Martinelli in there because we can, again, and that would be just for a -4. And then we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 double game weekers. We'd have double City defense to be a differential. The only thing that would worry me would be what Spurs do. That would be the only thing that would worry me. Salah, Cody, Doherty, White, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Son, Kulusevski, Rafinha, Saka, Salah, Lacazette, subs to Bravka, Digne, Tony, and Jimenez. Excuse me. 2 free transfers. I would be looking to get rid of your Wolves players, such as or well, you don't have to get rid of Saw, but you could get rid of Cody. You could potentially bring in a Burnley defender if you really wanted to. What chips do you have left? Because that kind of makes a difference. If you have a wild card left, it's very, very different. Or if you also have a free hit, it kind of can work both ways. But immediate thoughts would be Cody probably has to be one of the players leaving the team, and free hit and a bench boost. Okay, so you're probably going to want to work towards a situation where you want to have your best possible bench boost for probably 36 or 37, probably. That's what you're going to probably aim for. And then you're going to free hit in the other one. So what you can do, basically, is in the game week so you can ignore Man City, probably, for the time being, just because they don't have any doubles. And you can basically free hit in the week that Man City has a double, right? Whether that's 36 or 37. And then you can bench boost in the other one. So you still have time to figure out how that's going to play out. You will know that before game week 35 for sure. We might even know it before the start of game week 34, which is the hope that a lot of managers are having, considering they're dead-ending their teams into 33 and then wildcarding in 34. But I also potentially have a plan. It does involve quite a few hits, but it make my team a lot better. It makes it like a wildcard slightly later. But yeah, I'd be saying free hit in the week where Man City has the double, and bench boost in the week where Man City doesn't. Basically, or bench boost in the week where you can get the best possible what looks to be lineup. Where you're looking at your team and like, don't really know who to bench here. That's probably when you bench boost in 36 or 37, and then you free hit in the other week. And what you're probably going to do is exclude. So if you're going to bench boost in 36, what you're probably going to do is exclude Man City players. If you're going to bench boost in 37, I think you're probably going to exclude the expensive Spurs players. You might still have like Kulusevski and Doherty maybe, because they have, I think it's Burnley in 37. Yeah, Burnley in 37. And like Salah will still have like Southampton away, which is still a good fixture. So yeah, that's how I would kind of play it with that team that you currently have. Because you could play Dubravka. Who does Dubravka have this week? Dubravka has Wolves, so that's fine. You'd be happy to play Dubravka this week. Over Saw if you want to. If you did want to get rid of Saw and Cody, like let's say you wanted to free up some money and you just wanted to bring in Ramsdale and I don't know, Cancelo. I don't know if you have money for that, but that could be something that you do. Even though Cancelo has Liverpool this week, he can still do quite well. Okay, so this would be this is just hypothetical, our transfers if we were going this route. In 34, what I could do is take out Fernandes and bring in De Bruyne and captain him that week if I feel that, Salah isn't, potentially going to start versus Everton. This could also easily be a wild card week as well. But the team still looks okay. You got Mendy in goal versus West Ham. Not great, but it's still okay. I probably favor Watkins over the likes of Ben White or Ait Nuri in there. And you could just run a 3-5-2. Martinelli versus United is probably still fine. The bench just isn't great. But the team still looks good. You got Madison at home, Weghorst at home, Salah, Triple City, and it looks quite good. And then we can wildcard after that if we want to. We can also wildcard, like I said, in this game week. And if we do wildcard in 35, bench boost 36, so on and so forth. So that's one potential strategy. Another potential strategy is if you wanted to go fully on Spurs and get rid of Salah. Because we can do some very interesting things if we don't have Salah on our team, because he is the most expensive player in the game. So Mendy would be in. Dennis is currently in. Smith Rowe ahead of Watkins, Fernandes with the captaincy, Salah with the vice captaincy. So what we could do is we could get rid of Robertson, sorry. We could bring in a cheaper Burnley defender or a Newcastle defender if we really wanted to. So the likes of a Collins, Charlie Taylor, we can't stretch the Ben Mee, a Roberts as an example. So we'll go with, I'll just go with the Charlie Taylor because it seems like he has left back nailed down because Peters, I think, is still injured. So I'll go with Charlie Taylor again versus Norwich. I did perfectly fine. What are you saying this week's best two transfers in? Two best transfers in would be, I would say, if you don't have Kane or Son to captain, I would say potentially them. I would say Bruno Fernandes versus Everton would be good as well. I think potentially, surely Burnley keep a clean sheet versus Norwich. That's got to be, kind of there. I would say a cheap defender, potentially, if you don't want to burn a transfer that's going to be in the double. Or if you don't have like a Schmeichel or a Ramsdale or somebody like that that's going to have a double, I would say potentially bring one of them in as well. Those are just my takes. So yeah, cheap defender. Then we can get rid of Salah. We can go to Spurs, bring in Son. Then we can also get rid of Watkins. And we can go and get Kane. We would play Kane over probably Ben White. And play Dennis versus Leeds because I think Dennis can potentially do well. The captaincy would be between Fernandes and Kane. I think it should probably go on Kane. But it could easily go on Fernandes. So this would be for mine say. So this would be very, very intriguing. It would be no Salah. This would be a potential Salah out for 2 weeks. It could be 3. If we feel that he's not going to play in the derby versus Everton, Merseyside derby, that is. Because Klopp tends to do things where he doesn't play some of those players because he wants people to experience the Merseyside derby. I mean, I remember one time where they didn't play Salah and they still beat Everton convincingly. So there are times where he just doesn't play his big play. Like, he could easily play a front three in the Merseyside derby because he's probably going to play his best team in the Champions League to make sure that they get through in that. Assuming that they go through in that. Let me see how those games kind of work out. So, Champions League semi-final. So when are the Champions League semi-finals? So the 27th of April. So when is the 27th of April? 27th of April is... So the first fixture, 27th of April, would be after Liverpool play Everton. So maybe he does a rotated team. Let's say they're up against Bayern in the next round. He's going to need his best team. So maybe he rotates a little bit just to, and then they beat Everton. Because, again, if Liverpool still get a point versus Everton and Man City beat Watford, Liverpool, as it stands now with goal difference, if they beat Man City, they would still be ahead on goal difference alone. So, and that would be sandwiched in between, and then they have Newcastle on the weekend. So basically, their important game is, for the most part, is in the middle of the week, and they can still have Salah still in reserve. Like, you could play a front three of Mane, Firmino, and Diaz, and still perfectly be comfortable ripping Everton up. Basically, he can rest Salah, and he can use him for the likes of Bayern very comfortably. So that is definitely possible. And Salah could just be drained from the fact that, losing in the two shootouts is just annoying. I bought Taylor instead of Kelman. What do you think? Do I regret not buying Cher or Doherty? I think Taylor's fine. I think he should be fine. I would have potentially waited till tomorrow. I don't know if he's going to go up in price or not, but I think Cher is okay as well. I think Burnley's defense, if you're going to go for a defense, is probably better. Newcastle are a very attacking team. Cher is on free kicks from what we can tell, and on set pieces. For like longer range free kicks, and is also good on set pieces for corners. So yeah, I think it's still fine. Again, you're just kind of hoping for a little bit of magic there. Picking Taylor or picking Collins or Roberts or Doherty or Shar. We're just hoping to probably get the attacking return if we can get it, and if they get a clean sheet alongside it, then you're in Magic Town, basically, and you just hope the clean sheet comes through. I think this week, personally, I think Burnley should be the most likely to keep a clean sheet, hence why I went with them to be my clean sheet pick for the week. But yeah, I think Taylor should be fine. Yeah, so this would be for -8. This would be for game week 32. In 33, we could do a very nice luxury move. So again, this is just a double game week cheap defender. There are many options here. We could put in Ben White instead of maybe Antonio Rudiger. Maybe we play Rudiger over Dennis. It's a bit of a close call there, but maybe Rudiger gets something off a set piece, so we'll put him in there. And we could do a luxury transfer and just go from Smith Rowe to Martinelli if we feel Martinelli's going to start both. We captain Fernandez. We can just vice captain Kane probably. And if we really wanted to, we can go from Rafinha for exact money as it stands to the likes of James Maddison, and we could play James Maddison over Rudiger as well. He would probably be our vice captain, I would say. And we can go with something like that. So again, that would be quite heavy though on the hits. That'd be -12. I think they're winning over Everton will give them a boost in their upcoming matches. I think so as well. I think Burnley are now got we're staying out of relegation now. I think that's what they got their mind set on it now. And they should. Their fixtures are better. So that'd be game week 33. Game week 34, we don't have to wildcard. We don't, because the team still looks fine. We can bring Rudiger back in over Ben White. Taylor still has Wolves at home. Cancelo's got Watford. Martinelli, we're perfectly fine with playing. And we could do a nice little nifty transfer to De Bruyne, assuming he doesn't go up in price, if we went for a cheaper defender. So if this was Fabian Schär as an example, who's 0.1 less, that's why I would probably go Schär, just because he's 0.1 less. If I wanted to do this De Bruyne move, it was an option. Or instead of going Madison, we go Barnes instead. That also alleviates that money. So if I go back, I'm just going to change this to, instead of Madison, I'm going to just change it to Barnes, just so we have the 0.1 extra. Barnes would come back in for Antonio Rudiger. And yeah, De Bruyne would come in. We still have the 0.1 available for any potential crazy price rises there. And we can go for a differential captain that week. We still have triple Spurs attack. And then we could wildcard. We could bring in Salah back in, who would be playing Newcastle. We could bring Trent back in. And we can set up our team all fine and dandy. But figuring out that wildcard, that's going to be at a later date. But so this is how the team currently stands. We got Mendy in goal, Rudiger, White, Robertson, Cancelo, Rafinha, Kulusevski, Salah, Fernandez, Dennis, Weghorst, with Ramsdale, Smith Rowe, Watkins, and Aït-Nouri. So the deadline, for those watching, this will be, again, like I said, this is a VOD from last night. The deadline is on Friday, the 8th of April. The deadline's probably close to, if not already passed. Hopefully I answered some of the questions in the chat for you. Yeah, hopefully that helps you out. But before we sign off, let's talk about Fantasy Football Scout one more time. So, Fantasy Football Scout, hopefully those tables were able to help you out, make a little bit more decisions as well. There's much more than the tables as well, heat maps and all sorts. It's going to help elevate your FPL game, so make sure to check it out in the description below or in the About section or over on my Twitter as well. It's everywhere. Fantasy Football Scout. And you usually get a preseason offer, 20% off during the preseason. So make sure to check that out as well. So now let's move over to the big screen. So that's going to do it for the deadline stream. Again, this was a VOD from the previous night because the deadline's on the Friday. It's a bit weird. Normally we do those on the Saturday. We were on the Fantasy Football Scout deadline stream last week as well, which is why there was none. So yeah, make sure to follow, subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. And happy Game Week 32. Finally, a single game week, not a double anymore. Or not doubles anymore. There's going to be doubles next week, though. Potentially doubles in 34 or 35. Depends on how things kind of work out. And then the big ones, and then the end of the season. So it's going to be a hectic ride all the way to the very end. Thank you all for watching, and until the next one, take care.